everybody, welcome to the weekend preview. This, of course, where we talk about the weekend, we preview the races coming up, and there is a great race coming up this weekend with the Providence Cyclocross Festival right here in New England, just down the road from our headquarters here in Boston. But unfortunately, today, or yesterday, if you're watching this on Friday, we, as the cyclocross community and as the cycling community, were hit with the most devastating and tragic news that you could get, and that is that Amy Dombrowski was struck and killed this afternoon while training over in Belgium. Amy, if you're not familiar, professional cyclocross racer from right here in New England, up in Vermont, has been living over in Belgium the past couple of seasons, racing for a Belgian team over there. And so yeah, as I'm sure you guys are, and as I know I am, we're still understanding this news and processing it, and yeah, but we came all the way out here today to shoot a video and talk about cyclocross and talk about the weekend, and thought it would be a good opportunity, as I've seen a lot of you guys have been posting memories and talking about stories with Amy on your Facebook or Twitter. So while we're out here, I thought I'd use it as an opportunity to share some thoughts that I have. And so yeah, so I've known Amy for a long time, growing up here in New England and racing with her. I probably got to know her the same way most of you did, which is when she @replied me on Twitter to inform me that there was no W in her last name. But seriously, about 5 years ago, when I started working with Cycling Dirt and started interviewing her and really got to know her and how to pronounce her name correctly, and just learned, yeah, just how awesome of a person she was. The one thing that kind of stood out to me, the one thing that I kind of first thought of this afternoon when I was first hearing the news, just a few weeks ago in early August, we, Behind the Barriers TV, went up to the Catamount Grand Prix, the final mountain bike National Series race of the year, up in Vermont, to shoot sort of a preview, a pilot episode, just make sure that we knew what we were doing here. And Amy, who has raced plenty of mountain bike races in the past, but hadn't been racing mountain bikes this season, made sure she came out to that race to support the event that was just down the road from where she grew up in Jericho, Vermont. And after the race, we wanted to get an interview with her. We thought it would be, a great story to incorporate in just what it meant for her to be racing in this National Series event of the highest caliber, just down the road from where she grew up and in this location where she had spent a lot of time riding. And after the race, I went to find her, and she was busy, and I was frustrated. And it's always a pain when you have to wait for athletes and they have drug testing or they have a cool down or something. And she was doing this panel with other women where she was talking to the Little Bellas, which is a group that Leah Davison and her sister put on up there. And at first I was annoyed, and I was like, oh, we gotta wait, we gotta get out of here. And I'd walk away and come back 15 minutes later, and she was still on this panel talking to these little kids. And I did this back and forth, and almost an hour had gone by, and this was a really important interview that we wanted to make sure we got. And eventually I sat around and I was listening to, they were taking questions from the girls, and Amy the panel got a question, which was, have you ever had what's your worst crash, or what's a really bad crash you had? And everyone had a good story, and Amy had, she had the best story that all the girls were excited about or horrified about, that she had smashed her face up and had all these injuries. But then she went on to explain to the girls that, that's part of bike racing and part of mountain bike racing, and that she was fine, and it was just part of the sport, and it made for such a great story, and she used it as this opportunity to encourage these 50, 10-year-old girls that were there about how bike racing is really fun and exciting, and how, yeah, you might fall down, but scars are cool, and next thing I knew, I was sitting there with all these little girls and their moms, just listening to this panel and Amy and all of her friends talk, and I totally forgot about the interview that we had to do. And yeah, I'm going to miss those moments where we got to talk to her in person and travel this circuit and obviously watch her race. But as we get through this, you guys can go ahead and you can post comments down below or on Facebook or Twitter and let us know what memories you might have or what thoughts you've had. But what better way to kind of get through this than for all of us to get together this weekend, like we do every weekend, for a cyclocross race. So we'll be down in Providence, Rhode Island, for the USA Cycling Pro CX calendar event. On Saturday, there's a big C1. It's undoubtedly going to be great racing. On the men's side, you have Jeremy Powers coming back and Ryan Trebone and Tim Johnson. On the women's side, Katie Compton will be there for her first big event of the season against Elle Anderson, and Helen Wyman's last race before she goes back over to Europe. But more importantly than the racing, it'll just be great to see everybody and kind of help each other out and get through this together. So with that, we'll see you this weekend. Our thoughts, our prayers, obviously, with Amy's family and friends. And thank you for joining us, and love you all.